Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Della Pena, and welcome to Instructor's Legacy. At Instructor's Legacy, we take the amazing experiences that instructors have throughout their careers and turn them into something special, creating real, relatable knowledge capsules. This way, the journey of those instructors become valuable lessons for other educators. And this also ensures that their legacies continue to have an impact. Today's guest comes from the early childhood education sector, and she will be speaking on her experience as an early education specialist. So don't forget to hit that subscribe, that like button, and hit that bell icon so you can stay updated with all the new stories that come out. With that, let's get started. Hello, everybody. Again, Michael Del Pena, Instructor's Legacy, and I'm very honored today to have a special guest with us, Aimee Aquino, who is an early education specialist. Hi, Aimee. How are you?
Hi, Mike. Thanks for inviting me. Very
Yeah,
excited to be here.
I want to get right into it. So I wanted to kind of give the audience an understanding of what an early education specialist is. Tell the audience, what was it that inspired you to go down this path?
Yeah. So let's see. In my role, what we do is we support programs that support children. And how we do that is multiple ways. We help with the curriculum implementation, we help with trainings, we assist with looking at data to make sure that the program is working on their goals. So basically, I'm just there to be like a coach, to be like an assistant, a partner, to really help the programs with their goals or mission and helping those children meet their outcomes or be ready for school, basically. So the ages that I support are from birth up to 5 years.
Okay, wow. So as far as the folks that are actively involved with that age group, what do you do then to kind of help prepare the folks to be there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's not an easy job.
right.
I mean, working with children, that's a human business, and there's a
Hmm.
lot of layers. You're not only working with the children, but you're also working with the families.
Got it.
Just, keeping in mind of the culture, the individual needs of the program, as well as the staff. So there's a lot. There's a lot
Hmm.
to be factoring, a lot to be thinking and considering when you're working in this field. We know that children learn best in those primary years, and the interactions and the experiences that they have are fundamental for lifelong skills. So, what the teachers do, what the programs do, is very critical to children's success in giving them a head start, giving them the fundamental blocks. So yeah, that's why I love what I do because it's all starts from the beginning.
I can imagine just the wide range of experiences around that. And that kind of brings me to the question of like when you start working with staff or the teachers, because I would imagine it's just not just the teachers themselves, like there's like the support staff, this whole ecosystem of education, we kind of put it that way. Where do you see yourself interacting the most, like providing guidance or mentorship? Is it really like at just the teachers, or where are you at in that scope?
No, I feel like the leadership, the people who support the teachers make
Hmm.
a difference in the children's outcomes and the family outcomes.
Good.
So the leadership is very key because they're the ones who really develop that culture, who really foster the environment for our teachers to provide high quality interactions, to provide the environment that the children and the teachers need in order to learn, to provide a welcoming environment for families to feel like they're a part of that culture and to be a part of their children's learning. So the key players are the leadership because they're the ones who oversee the program and make sure that the environment is safe, positive, and healthy for everybody.
Oh, I love that. Leadership buy-in is key, right?
Yeah.
I've seen in the past where you can have all the motivated instructors and teachers and their hearts are in it. But if the leadership or the management structure doesn't support that, it's doomed to fail. So that's great to
Yeah.
hear.
I think because leadership is juggling so many things, the early childhood education, you can't just see it as an educational piece. There's also a business piece to it too. And so sometimes our leaders can get into this rabbit hole um, or tunnel vision
Mhm.
situation where they're only focusing on the bottom line, they're
Right.
only focusing on their marketing and forgetting about that balance and importance of supporting the staff who ultimately supports the children and families.
Got it. Thank you for that. Can you recall a particular instance where you, as a early education specialist, impacted one of your staff?
Positively or negatively?
Ah, that's a good one. I mean, that's a good way to come back at that because
Yeah.
there's opportunities to learn from negative impact. Maybe you sidestepped it a little bit differently than you thought you
Yeah.
should, but then yeah, maybe the positive because one of the things I would hope to that folks that following in your footsteps would see is that you do have a positive impact.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, when you read about the position, it's exciting because you feel like you're going to teach, you're going to impact, you're going to make a difference, right? But when you get into the role, you realize there's a lot more to it. I mean, it doesn't easily just happen where you can just make a change on someone. Um, and so let me talk about the positives. So
Okay.
yes, absolutely. I love building a relationship. I have seconds for someone who doesn't know me to feel safe, to invite me in their world and to want to work with me. I mean, seconds. And I appreciate that I have that privilege, that short moment to do that with them. And when they would welcome me in, that feels like a huge accomplishment right then and there. Um, so that's one impact because you can't make someone change. I mean, they're going to have to want it.
Right.
So that's first. Second, I love hearing that they come back and said, "Oh my gosh, I tried it, I did it, and guess what?" Like that's just so exciting for me that
Mhm.
they get passionate and they feel like something had worked for them where they love their job again, where they love being with the children, where they enjoy the things that they enjoy. So that's where I see the positive impact as one, they invite me into their world, they feel safe. And then second, that some of the things that we have reflected on, that we had tried, they tried it and it worked. It made a difference in somehow.
Wow. Mhm.
So for the negative, go back to my early days when I started at this position back in like early 2000. And I remember that my job was to just train. I knew that my objectives were clear. Train the staff. They need to know this, A, B, and C. And unfortunately, as I read it in the job description, that's how I did it. I was like, these teachers need to be trained. And I'll never forget a day where I was training this particular teacher, something about her classroom or environment or something like that. And after our one-on-one session, she had walked down the hallway, and there's like a T-bone hallway where once you make a
Mhm.
turn, you don't see that person anymore. So I happened to, be right behind her, maybe like, I don't know, 10, 12 feet. And so she made that turn. She met with another teacher, and the teacher said, "Hey, how was your session with Aimee?" And she says, "I don't know." And so I wondered, like, wow, why did she say, I don't know? So the teacher goes, "Why? Was she mean? Was she scared?" She goes, "No, it's just she makes me feel, I don't know. I just feel intimidated. Like what she
Mm.
makes sense, but
Mhm.
I felt intimidated. That for me was a huge negative. And
Wow.
I realized
Mhm.
that my focus on an objective, me wanting to train, wasn't the way that I wanted to impact a teacher, especially making her feel the way she felt. So I kind of like toss and turn that night. And I was like, this is not what I want. I want the teachers to feel safe, psychologically safe with me, but I also want them to feel like, we are working together on some of this growing, some of these ideas, some of these suggestions, not me just kind of like, you know, here's the way to do it, just do it. And I want to start seeing it. So that really kind of informed my way of how I wanted to be an early childhood specialist.
That's very important because I think what I'm tapping into here with what you just said is, as leaders, when they go into a new organization, a lot of them have their objectives to kind of like take care of the structure and focus on the rules. And oftentimes folks will forget to connect on the human side. And what you just realized on that in that corridor is that was something. So how fast did you adjust to that?
I evolved my first year in
Okay.
the position. I mean, I think that as I collected more feedback from others and the more I reflected, it helped shape me because, first I was an early childhood specialist, and then the following year I took the role of a director manager. And I have to say, I'm glad I did that because as I shifted my roles, I remember to take those pieces that I got as an educator, early childhood specialist, into my role and not take an approach of being your supervisor or your manager, but rather I remember that it's very important to support the teacher. I don't care if you're the manager, the supervisor, or the trainer. We must support them. So I took that with me
Okay.
as I, moved on to other roles. And I think that's what's made me successful in building those relationships because I'm always very in tune and listening to the needs of the staff, the teacher first, before we can get into instructing, before we can even get into growing their practice or their expertise.
Right. That's very good advice. Very good advice. I want to move on to like technology changes, right? With the improvement of AI and all of this, right? So I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on this, on the evolution of your particular niche in the industry, and also kind of, one of the things that I always try to do when I talk to my students is, kind of always keep your eye on how things will evolve. And so, as early education specialist, how do you see that role evolving? And with that, what would be your advice on adapting to that?
Well, I think with the pandemic, that kind of forced our hand in that
Right.
direction. We were, in my role, we were always in person in terms of providing services and support. And when the pandemic hit, we had to learn quickly and pivot to using, this virtual platform
Mm,
because we're a people business. You build relationships. A lot of the things that in terms of resources and giving professional development, it was always hands-on,
mhm.
and we would give them things that were tangible. So when we had to leverage virtual, the question was, are we still impactful? I think that there's some pluses and minuses sides to that. Yeah, it has improved.
Okay.
I think over the past few years, I can say, comfortably that I still was able to meet my outcomes with my staff, my teachers, my clients. We were able to have that engagement, but it wasn't to the depth that we wanted,
Mm,
right? Um, yeah, okay. So if they had questions around, data, if they had questions around what should we do, sure, that's an easy fix, but that whole relationship piece had such a, my opinion, superficial level.
mm,
Um, a second thing that presented was, those nuances matter. When you're in person and you see how they respond and how open they are to talk, it's because of the environment. But when you're in a virtual platform, it kind of caused some barriers where people start to take themselves off video
right.
or themselves, or they're distracted and they're doing some things. So it's kind of like a good thing and a not so bad thing, but there's some challenges to that.
Okay.
So it evolved, but I guess it depends on what kind of outcome you're looking for.
Interesting. I'm in my understanding of your role, if uh do you find yourself able to assess the staff and their interactions between the age groups that you mentioned? Is it
Funny,
easier, harder?
a lot harder. And it's
Mhm.
it's funny because in our programs are required to be observed
Right.
by experts who look at specific interactions using a research-based tool. Okay. And because of the pandemic, this contractor was looking at a virtual way of capturing observations.
Mm,
And so we went through a pilot where they observed through videos, teachers recorded their videos, and these videos again captured interactions in the classrooms, interactions between the teachers. And let me tell you, the teachers had a lot of anxiety and stress around it. It was very difficult to be natural, to be authentic, and then have to worry about the equipment, have to do the editing, have to deal with the uploading. And so, in a way, it was kind of more of a hardship than showcasing, having someone else come in and showcasing naturally what they do with the children. So, in that case, it's difficult. It's still an option that we
mhm.
offer our programs. Would you like to be observed virtually, or would you like to be observed in person?
Right.
And the vote's still for in person.
So how would you motivate or guide or encourage staff that are having trouble with that remote self-assessment? How do
Mhm.
you convince them to stay open, be authentic, and still kind of focus on collecting the information that you need?
Yeah, I think that I think comfort level is important. I think that because it's such a new thing, that is probably one of the reasons why there's some anxiety or some stress around it. But I think if they're comfortable just having technology be a form of assistance rather than a hindrance, that might be helpful. Something to also think about is the type of technology. I mean, there's some technologies that are great and some that still need some, workaround.
Right.
I've heard some technology where it actually just follows you and can pick up your sound versus having to have it clipped on you and you have to move it around. So I
Hmm.
think that the type of technology is important. The comfort and knowledge and training around the technology helps teachers with their anxiety and ease and confidence. But also, I think that we want to also think about how it can support us, because one of the great things about technology is that we can see ourselves.
Right.
I would like to see these videos and see for myself, how am I projecting? What are some things that I'm doing as a teacher that I may not be aware of that this video had picked up for me,
Right.
Or can we use this as not only just to observe, but as a professional development support too?
Got it. And I think that's part of the, establishing a culture of, being in the moment, getting your staff to recognize that these are opportunities to see the improvements that they can make. This is opportunity for staff and leadership to work on ways to share out.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
all about how it's being messaged by the leadership, right? So if the individual is feeling like they're evaluated, then it's going to come with some angst. It's going to come with some stress and anxiety or some assumptions. But if we can message it in a way where this is something to help us, to support us, to help grow us, then it'll be much more embraced.
Very good. I like that advice. Let's see. I want to move on to the reward, right? So we have individuals that are going into the education sector, and well, there's a lot of sense of, yeah, I want to give to a community. I want to help others succeed. For those that are moving into your sector, moving into your field, give me a little more on the reward.
Oh, gosh. I love early child education. I
Mhm.
mean, I know there's segments of school age and, adolescence, teenage, but I personally love early childhood only because there's so much joy in seeing the growth and the excitement over something small and simple. You feel more present with the children. And I mean, like I said, there's just so many fundamental building blocks that you
Mm,
person get to be the one who helps build that. When you enter into a child's life that's much older, you don't have that. You don't have that. So to come at an early age is a privilege and an honor to be a part of those fundamental blocks. I think early education has always been my greatest passion. It's so rewarding. Um, like I said, I just love the developmental milestones
mm,
in those ages. And if I could just freeze children in that age group forever, I would. I mean, those are the times where you're just, I mean, you're happy over the small things that
right,
children are, I just,
right.
and That's what I love, is just being in that stage, that age.
Right. And just hearing you say that, it's like, yeah, you know what, I've been in the education system for a while now, and milestones, wherever they're at, whether it's within your age group or whether it's me on the technical side, advanced training, those milestones make a big difference. And really the instructor's goal, or the educator's goal, is to make sure to showcase how important those milestones are, right? And then to just to celebrate them along the way. So that kind of leads me into this next question here around legacies. This instructor's legacies is designed to kind of bring out something that you, as a education specialist, right? What would you want to pass down? Okay. What would be your legacy, right? If you were to showcase a story or package something that you want to hand down to your children or somebody new coming into the industry, what would that be?
I think that there are so much research behind best practices in
Mhm.
terms of helping our children with their outcomes developmentally, right? And my wish, my hope would that I'd be able to promote that, I'd be able to grow that in someone who's passionate about it. They take that, they implement it, they live through it, and they pass it on to the next eager person who wants to get in the field. Like, I want this to grow. I want this to
Mhm.
be where everybody absolutely loves being a part of their, not only the field, but to make that difference in this early age, not only with the children, but the families too. So I guess that would be my hope, is to have that impact on one individual at least, and that one individual will become someone who will also pass it on to the next person who's young, ready
Mhm.
to, conquer the field and needs that guidance. That's what I would hope for.
Thank you. And let's take that question up, maybe down to a deeper level. How would you want your family to remember what you did in this field?
I think a lot of the things I do professionally is also what I do in my personal life. I am always so involved in my son's life,
Hmm.
and we're always asking questions. We're always reflecting. We're always finding things around us for us to learn, whether, through daily activities, through meeting people, through travels. And I like, pushing the envelope a little bit to just wonder, to think, to reflect, to go, what do you think? So I hope that with, my family, I hope that with our desire to want to grow, to develop, to appreciate, to want to, be the best versions of ourselves, I hope that comes through, because I would want that all the things that we are providing for our son, he's going to take that and provide that for his family. I want him to be an awesome parent. So, I mean, that's, and in all essence, I mean, that's really the reason why I went into the early childhood field, is because I wanted to be a good mom. I wanted to be a great mom. I was only child.
Hmm.
My parents were divorced. I was kind of raised by aunts and uncles, and I didn't really have anybody to look up to. I didn't go on vacations. I didn't have the family things.
Right.
And so I thought, I want to educate myself because I want to be able to provide that for my son. And so when I got into the early childhood field, I was like, wow, this is what children need. This is the type of environment I've got to promote. And so, yeah, I do it professionally, but I love that I was able to bring this to our home life so that our son will have those, outcomes, and he can give that to his kids one day.
This is one of the things that's I think is important to capture. We get so wrapped up in the business and trying to, hit all the different tools in the tool belt when we're doing our professions, right? But I think being able to correlate that back to, what is the real importance behind it, right? What you just said is, I love that, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. So Amy, Is there anything else that you would like to add? Any other thoughts on early education specialists and or?
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me to share some of my experience and insight. I'm a big advocate for early childhood. I encourage people to think about this field and also think about that, everything we do in terms of whatever industry that we are doing, there's a human element. And we want to remember that who we're working with, we are supporting them, we're partnering with them. And we always want to consider their culture, we want to think about equity, we want to be inclusive, and we want to be supportive. So, despite what other industry you're in, just want to kind of elevate that and highlight the importance of doing that when you're building your workforce.